Hey, welcome. Chris here from Videomaker, and you're about to watch our first impressions of the Sony A7R Mark II. All right, so this is our first impressions review of the Sony A7R Mark II. We were lucky enough to go on a trip that Sony sent us to Portland just a couple weeks ago, and to show off this camera along with the RX10. Now we're under their control, all the situations they set up. So because of that, we wanted to make sure that you all knew that the footage that we're gonna have here was really set up by Sony. So because of that, until we get the camera in, which we should be getting at any moment, we wanted to make sure you got our first impressions, learn a little bit about the camera. There were some insights from us getting to use it, but that we wanted to hold off the review till we were able to do some real thorough tests on low light, on Morse, on just a whole slew of different things that we weren't able to do there because really we weren't in control of the shooting situations. However, we were running the camera, and we were there able to give insight to Sony on their product, on not only shortcomings that it has, but also give them kudos on cool things that were part of it. Without further ado, let's jump right into our first impressions. So MSRP $31.99, quite a bit more than the Sony A7S, however cheaper than the A7S with, like, say, a Shogun or something like that. Backlit full frame CMOS sensor, full frame 4K internally. You can shoot in two different modes with that full frame. You can shoot in full frame and then Super 35 mode, which the difference really is, Super 35's got a crop is crop of that sensor, so you do have the crop factor that's there, but you don't have any pixel binning with the Super 35 mode, whereas the full frame 4K does. So now there isn't any anti-aliasing on this camera, because there is no line skipping. So they feel that if there's no line skipping, they don't need an anti-aliasing filter on there. It's got 5-axis steady shot, X, Y, pitch, yaw, and roll. Now the cool thing about this is if you say you're using a lens that is from a different manufacturer, let's choose Canon here. Canon's got an electric autofocus, unlike Nikon, which is mechanical. So Nikon's autofocus is not going to work on this camera no matter what adapter you use, or, well, up to today there's no adapters out there that'll do it. But we used a photodiox adapter with a L series 24-70 lens, and the lens worked great. Now the autofocus hunted a little bit, but we'll get to that when we cover the autofocus. Now the thing about steady shot though is that Canon's lenses with image stabilization offer pitch and yaw correction, but there's 5 axes with a steady shot. But say this image stabilization on your lens is better than the camera. It actually is smart enough to know that and to use the controls that your lens offers along with the other 3 axes to give you steady shot, so you don't lose all of the others. If you say want to use the Canon image stabilization, you say the lens has a 3-stop image stabilization and the camera's only got 2 for yaw and pitch. Well, it'll use the lens yaw and pitch image stabilization and yield that to the lens. The camera will, but it'll still use X, Y, and roll. So that's pretty neat. That means it's always going to try to get the best image stabilization it can, no matter what lenses you're using. The 4K bitrate is 60 or 100 in XHVCS. In HD XHVCS is 50. Your frame rates are 30, 24, 25 in 4K, 60, 30, 24, 50, and 25 in 1080, and in 720, 120, or 100. Now, we had a question if in PAL mode, would it actually indicate that it's in shooting PAL mode? And the answer is no. However, it does tell you your frame rates. So if you're in 25, 50, or 100, you're in PAL. If you're in 24, 30, 60, or 120, you're in NTSC. Now with switching between NTSC and PAL, you do have to format your card. So that was a question we got here on YouTube from one of our viewers. We appreciate those questions. In fact, if you guys have any more questions after this first impressions please note them below. We want to cover that stuff in our full review. The HDMI out is uncompressed. It's not raw, so it's not giving you the data straight from the sensor. However, it's not compressing it for you. So if you have an external recorder that does maybe uncompressed, maybe does ProRes 444 or 422, or ProRes of any kind really, that has a nicer codec than the camera actually shoots, you can use that. It's uncompressed out. Now these we didn't get to do any low light testing, so we'll get to that when we get to do the full review. However, in S-Log mode, the 800 ISO is your lowest ISO you can use, so it's the same, I believe, as the A7S. As I think most people know, the mirrorless cameras are battery hungry. They are, well, making more electronic parts of the camera work, right? With the mirror, you're doing it's all just reflections, whereas you're actually looking through a screen there in your viewfinder. So because of that, Sony claims 1 hour of recording time per battery, with no known overheating issues. They actually said that they press record, threw it on their dash, drove home in rush hour traffic in San Diego, and didn't have any overheating issues. Sounds pretty awesome. Might be too good to be true. We'll find out for you in our full review. However, we weren't able to experience that. We didn't have any overheating issues while we were shooting with it in Portland, but we weren't necessarily always recording. We were shooting this, walking over here, shooting that, putting the camera away, trying the RX10 Mark II, all sorts of stuff. So we didn't get to sit there and use the camera for a full hour and see if it overheated or any issue like that. So the audio on this camera, separate audio input versus headphones, so that's really nice. You can actually reassign the buttons on the camera. So I reassigned one of the buttons to be audio gain, so I can press it and adjust the audio input gain. Now, one drawback that I found is if you're using any of Sony's hot shoe microphones, and I tried two different ones, their shotgun and then their little adapter they have for their lav mic, is that it goes onto auto gain and you cannot control the gain once you have something in the hot shoe. Now, I don't own, or we don't have any Sony hot shoe accessories that we use, so because of that, no big deal. If you're not using those, you don't have anything to worry about. And it seemed concerning enough to them that it's very likely to show up on a firmware update that's corrected. They were unaware of it, and well, it seems pretty minor. So anyhow, you can, like I said, you can actually reassign the buttons. So if you're coming from Nikon or from Canon and you're used to the buttons being one way or another, almost all of the buttons are able to be reassigned, if not all of them. I didn't test all of them, but there was so many different types of things you could assign to each button. It was quite amazing. I wanted to do image stabilization test to see with it on and off to see how good it actually was. And I actually was able to put the on-off button and assign it to a button to turn it on and off, which was pretty awesome. So that way I was able to record and turn it on and off while I was still recording, instead of recording, go into the menu, turn it off, then roll again and onward. So very, very cool. The record button though is really stupid. I really don't like it. But you can reassign it. So it's actually flush mount. It's pretty small, but if you're used to it in a different place, or you want it in a better place, because that's actually an awkward place and you really can't even find it by braille. So, pretty cool. You can reassign all those buttons. I think that's probably one of the best features I found in the camera, because learning a camera and having to jump around a lot of cameras, and we do that a lot here at Videomaker, trying out cameras, and you don't necessarily get used to one setup or another. And in another life, I was a heavy Canon user, and because of that, my muscle memory is just where Canon buttons are. My body's not telling me I like Canons or anything better, it's just where I'm used to pressing the button. And because I can reassign those, it's really cool. Definitely the coolest feature on this camera. I think it's probably going to win a lot of Canon and Nikon users over to their camera, being that both it's 4K internally. You can use, well, at least Canon lenses on the camera, and then you can reassign the buttons. So in essence, you can have the same user experience as a Canon, but with the full frame 4K. And what they claim really great low light experience expectations. So now back to the autofocus. Now they have their new autofocus. It's 399 different spots of autofocus, and it seemed to work really good in photo mode. I didn't get to use it too much because I was having too much fun shooting all sorts of other things, so we will test that as well. But as other users on the trip were experiencing, it seemed it was working all right. I got to watch it work all right. But using a different lens, so I used the L series 24-70 Canon glass on it with the photodiox adapter and put it on there, and it did quite a bit of hunting, and it was because it wasn't using their new autofocus mode. It was using contrast autofocus, so it was just hunting all over the place. Now it was also like dusk when I was shooting, or a little bit past dusk, so low light probably couldn't have been helping it much, but like I said, didn't work. So now Sony had told me, one of their reps that was there, one of their product specialists, said this is not typical. The camera was either malfunctioning or the lens was malfunctioning, which was of course their first thing, that the Canon lens wasn't working right. But either way, they said that wasn't typical and that it should work. So we're hoping that when we get the camera here, we can try that out and see if it actually truly does work. So really overall, pretty cool camera. You're gonna get to see the test footage and we'll just really shortly just give you a heads up on the lenses I used. FE PZ 28 to 135 f4, all Sony. FE 90mm f2.8 macro, Sony as well. FE 55mm f1.8, Sony. FE 35 f1.4. And then also that Canon L series 24-70 f2.8. So overall, I hope this review does you well. Gonna run the footage here, and I hope you enjoy it. So there you have it. There's our test footage and our first impressions. If you have any questions about the test footage or any of the things I said in our first impressions video, please let us know right in the comments below. It's important for us to know what you think. Give us your feedback. You know, we'll weed through all the mean people. It's just, I guess, typical on YouTube. But before you leave, I want to make sure subscribe to our page. We make videos all the time. We have lots of subscribers, and we want you to be one of them. We really appreciate you watching our video. As well, if you want to sign up for our e-newsletter, we will send well, all of the video production tips, tricks, camera reviews, you name it, straight to your inbox. As well, go to our website, videomaker.com/wincoolgear, and you'll see that we are always giving away something cool. And well, that's it. We have more videos below, and the video in the middle is for our Plus members. If you'd like to sign up for that, it's an awesome program. You click on that and find the details on the link below. We really appreciate your time. I'm glad you stuck through it all. Till next time, thanks.